Hello friends, I'm Jonathan Pishner with Apex Counseling, and today we are starting off a video series on how to have the best mental health that you can during a crisis. Right now, we're all experiencing the same negative event across the world. We're living in a global pandemic, a global crisis with COVID-19 virus. So we wanted to put out some ideas for how people can have the best mental health that they possibly can in this negative circumstance. And even within that, I want to call attention to one of the things I said was how to have the best mental health that you can during a crisis. Because it's a little different when your circumstances are amazing, having the best mental health that you can. When your circumstances are bad, it's a little tougher because thinking of our psychological needs, when your need for safety and security is under threat, it's much more difficult, or maybe even for some impossible, to get to like the highest places of mental health. So really this is all about helping people to keep the lowest possible levels of stress and anxiety or loneliness, whatever negative impacts you might be experiencing out of this. This video series is going to be about how to minimize those as much as possible, but with the understanding that eliminating anxiety or stress or any of that, that might be a bit of a tall order. That might not be possible for a great many people. So today's video, as the introduction, really only has one action step for people to utilize. Because one of the things that's really important to know is we as human beings are easily impacted by other humans. We look to other humans for our social cues, and even sometimes, I shouldn't say sometimes, a lot of times, for our emotional cues. And so what occurs is when we see the world around us freaking out, we see the world around us being stressed, anxious, lonely, it is very easy for us to come to the unconscious belief that that is the way we are supposed to feel, and to accept that as just like, all right, now that is how I am supposed to feel. So the action step for our introductory video is going to be bringing conscious awareness to that feeling, the feelings you're experiencing, and making the conscious choice to have the best mental health that you can, making the conscious choice to reduce stress as much as humanly possible. Because when we don't do that, when we just accept, oh, well, okay, everybody else is feeling bad, therefore I should feel bad too, it's like we almost don't even recognize we have the option to feel better than we currently do. So the entire action step for today is to notice that process and to make a conscious choice that you're going to have the best mental health that you possibly can during all of this. Because when you're in a crisis situation, it's like setting a video game on hard mode. It's not easy anymore. So you have to really be intentional, be conscious, and work towards feeling okay, or at least most people do. So that's the action step for today, is decide you're going to have the best mental health that you possibly can. You're going to feel as okay as you can in this really crazy negative circumstance. Because really, the world's kind of gone crazy. A month and a half ago, we were in objectively better circumstances than we are now. It's not like, oh well, we just roll with the punches. Like this is something none of us have experienced, except I think I read one or two extremely old people experienced the 1918 flu pandemic. Most of us have no experience with this. So we have to be very intentional and very conscious about trying to feel as okay as possible and to function in the best way possible. So let me say a couple of things about the videos we're going to put out after this one. So we're going to put out as much as we possibly can for how people can stay well during this. One of the important things is not everybody in every area is going to find these steps actionable. because we'll have some behaviors. We'll suggest some behaviors for people to utilize. Maybe you're in an area where that set of behaviors can't work. Like I know here in our area, if I say take a walk, that is number one, it's legally allowed, and number two, there's no risk of running into other people. But if you're in I don't know, if you're in New York City, I'm not sure that's really an actionable thing because I'm not in that area, but I could easily envision ways where that's not actionable. So, or we'll have, maybe a few thought processes we'll encourage people to practice, but maybe some of those will not really work well for people. Like if I say, try and view this circumstance or that circumstance as okay, but you just had a loved one die from this pandemic. I mean, you're going to have a real hard time doing that. So if you run across within our content on this anything that seems like it's not helpful, just skip that one. Don't try and do stuff that seems impossible. We're going to put out plenty of things for people to try. So stick with things that seem like they're actionable. Utilize your strengths. If you see one that's like, man, I don't think I could ever do that, that's okay. Just skip it. And the second part is be forgiving of yourself. I said decide to have the best mental health you possibly can. If you have a day where you're just like a wreck, then I mean, okay. Some days it's harder than others. So be forgiving of yourself if this if this isn't necessarily easy. Like I've been practicing all these tools and skills for over a decade. I'm going to have a head start on a lot of people feeling well, versus, somebody who just watches this video and tries to apply some stuff. So be forgiving of yourself. And the last one is, if you need help, get some help, man. Because, we put out this video content so that people can, maybe take some tips and tricks, utilize it, make themselves feel better. And if you can, terrific. But man, if you're struggling and you just can't seem to do it without assistance, reach out to a good counselor. All of our people here are doing telehealth right now, so you don't even have to come in the office. We'll do it by video. In our area, most practices seem to be transitioning to telehealth. So, get with a counselor if you need further assistance, because this is a crazy time we live in. People are going to need support. So hopefully that one tip is helpful for you. Please check into all of our content on how to have the best mental health that you possibly can during a crisis. Thank you for hanging out with me for a few minutes. I am Jonathan Pishner with Apex Counseling, and I will see you in the next video.